it's been like widely debunked. So
Yeah, you're a centrist. I know horseshoe theory, far
yeah,
right.
so
Far
well,
left.
here's the problem. Are you claiming right, like in this claim where you say you disagree with the Supreme Court on this ruling around the Biden
And
administration being able to
this,
pressure social media sites? Are you claiming that the federal government doesn't have a First Amendment right?
I think they're infringing on it by doing that.
Wait. So when Donald Trump gets on a stage during his administration and he looks straight down, he looks at a CNN reporter and
It
says,
says he wants to punish for burning the American flag. Is that what
no,
you're
no,
saying?
no, that I was actually going to say, he says, CNN, you're fake news. The story you wrote about me this week is fake, gross news, and you should take it down. He's the president of the United States telling a private company that they should take something down. And why is that not unreasonably
So I
unrealistic
don't know
pressure?
why you guys always go to this example of Trump said that the company was fake news. Yeah, that's totally free speech, and I'm totally cool with that.
Okay, so then why is
If
what the
Biden
Biden
were to do that,
so why is what the Biden administration did?
it was government pressure.
Wait,
A
why is
company,
that? Wait,
a-
so my question is, why is what the Biden administration did government pressure, but what Donald Trump did was not?
no.
Wait, what do you mean? No, I'm asking why.
Calling something fake news is different than pressuring a platform
So
take
then what?
down information.
What did the Biden administration do to pressure these companies?
They use their governmental powers. You got a big
You're
corporation.
not saying anything. You need to be more specific than that.
Zuckerberg clarified that they did pressure him and he regrets doing it. And that what they did is they used their governmental power. If a corporation like Facebook needs the government's permission for things like identification and a bunch of things that a company like Facebook would need. So
Yes.
getting on the bad side of the government is not in their best interest.
Yeah. So, and again, I think like the Supreme Court ruled it the correct way in saying that, like, when most of the judges were skeptical of that exact argument, they said in their arguments, they were asking questions like, wait a second, as a Supreme Court justice, I have worked in politics or in media, and this doesn't seem what the Biden administration did when they would send an email to Facebook and say, we think that this violates your terms of service. If you feel it necessary and appropriate, take it down. If not, that's fine. Sign politely, government. That's no different than what every administration ever has done. The Trump administration did it.
Why do you think Facebook regretted listening?
So hold on, two things. That type of discourse, both publicly and privately, between the White House and media companies has been going on since the dawn of radio. It happened that's part of why the Supreme Court so vehemently said, like, ruled in favor of the Biden administration, because there's nothing abnormal about the Biden admin emailing companies and saying, we think that you should take this down, especially when you look at the statistics. Like Facebook and Twitter, for example, during this time, agreed with the federal government and took these sources down less than 50% of the time. And that's publicly available data. Most of the time, they just said no.
Yeah, I just disagree with that Supreme Court decision. I think that's fucked up.
Okay. And what was it?
You can use your authoritarian governments to make corporations, media corporations, do what you want. And we might disagree on this. We can pivot to something else if you so want.
I just feel like I guess my question then becomes like, what does the government have any First Amendment right? Is the government allowed to contact social media? Is the government allowed to privately say anything to anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, you just say
The
that.
things they did it on were shady, like things like COVID misinformation, quote unquote. Who decides what misinformation is, Chris?
Well, I think actually the White House in those emails would say, we believe, not that we believe it's misinformation, we believe this goes against your terms of service listed here around misinformation. So it's actually arguing that Twitter, in their own rules, should take it down.
I thought we were talking about Facebook, not Twitter.
Oh, sorry, Facebook. Same idea.
Nah, man, I don't think that's true at all, Chris.
Well, we can pivot to something else. What else is there? What else do you want to talk about?
I'm a big fan of tariffs.
Why do you like tariffs?
They increase domestic production.
Okay, isn't there better ways to increase domestic production?
Just because there's a better way doesn't mean it's not a good way.
Okay, well,
What would be the better way, Chris? Hold on, you don't do the same talking points as Parker Dean. Let me hear this.
yeah, sure. So like when the Biden administration passed the CHIPS Act, they gave, right now we see more spending in electrical manufacturing in the United States, according to the Treasury Department, like private investment in that field, than ever before in American history. And that's because when the Biden administration passed the CHIPS Act, they gave private business in America a bunch of tax cuts and incentives to like create manufacturing facilities to create computer chips. And so it boosted domestic production by just using capitalism. Being like, hey, we'll give you tax breaks if you do
think
this.
it would be to the consent that a flat 20%, or to the extent of a flat 20% tariff on everything?
Well, again, like obviously, like giving tax
Those aren't
cuts.
comparable.
Well, I'm just saying that's an example of like if you want to boost domestic production in a specific area, like we're spending an unbelievable. We've added more manufacturing jobs under the Biden administration than under the Trump administration, a lot because of that act alone. We're spending a tremendous.
What about the tariffs under the Biden administration?
Okay, so we can talk about that when we talk about like widespread tariffs. Don't you think that those bring like there's a lot of negatives involved in widespread tariffs, like inflation?
I think there's more nuance to it than most of the TikTok liberals think.
Why is that?
Because when people are spending more money on domestic goods, those companies have more money and they will pay American workers more.
Why would they be incentivized to pay workers more if they're making more money?
They would just have more profit. They wouldn't have to hire. Well, I'd also connect with, I'm not a fan of mass migration. They wouldn't have to hire all these immigrants to work for cheap.
Okay, but are you suggesting that like because they're making because they're making more money, they will just willingly?
Then we could start focusing on getting outpacing wages with inflation.
Oh, so private businesses will be focused on increasing wages. That's quite the bargain.
No, but as a country, if we are giving our attention more to them, they'd be less incentivized to raise prices because they don't have to compete with China.
Okay, so let's back up a second because even if you were talking about domestic production, when we implement these very widespread aggressive tariffs, like a lot of companies are going to continue to import goods from places like China, and they're just going to take the new inflated price and push it on the consumer, which will cause inflation. And you agree with that?
I think it's a more marginal increase than a lot of you guys think.
Well, I mean, the economist at Goldman Sachs said 1.5% in the first half of 2025. I think that's enough to like single-handedly, the S&P 500 and the Dow this year have hit, I don't know, like somewhere around, don't quote me exactly, it's like 55-ish, 50-ish all-time highs. I think that's 1.5% inflation is more than enough to completely reverse course on something like the market and have businesses unemployed, laying off people because they're scared of a recession.
So your argument is tariffs are a net negative?
Yeah, I think that, again, like I think it cannot be overstated how do you have anything invested right now in the market?
Of course.
Okay. So like how was your stock portfolio over the last like 2 weeks?
Meh,
right.
not
so
as good as it was
right. So
when Trump got elected, of course.
So I don't know what day this was. Not the week before Christmas on Friday, I think, or Thursday, the Fed, or maybe it was Wednesday, whatever. We had, I think the Dow and the S&P had their worst day since like mid 2020. $3 trillion of market cap just obliterated. We had 10 straight red days in a row, which is our longest losing streak since 79 or something. But a lot of that came from the Fed announcing that they were going to cut rates. But they said, we're only going to cut rates twice in 2025 instead of 4 times, which was really unexpected. And they essentially signaled, hey, we think inflation is going to be a lot more stubborn than we previously expected. Why would that be? Because of Trump's widespread tariffs. And so they had to adjust their monetary policy to say, wait, inflation might stick around, so we can't cut rates as fast, which caused the market to fucking panic and go into a tailspin. So you're already seeing this in a very small way, how the market's going to react.
We've also seen the market jump in a good way. So what is the point?
But the point is that like we've spent so long in this teetering of the economic market investors trying to figure out if there's going to be a massive recession. And I think if you tick up inflation even just 1%, there's going to be a lot more widespread damage in the economy than just a percent of inflation.
But this is purely just off speculation. Sure.
That is speculative.
What would you have to say? Sorry, another pivot. If I said Trump is optically a better president in terms of having a strong military presence in the world, Trump's better optically than a Biden or a Kamala.
Optically to who?
Enemies.
No, strong disagree.
Why?
Because I think 40 of Donald Trump's 44 cabinet members from his first term didn't endorse him for a second term, and every single one of his most important
Because
people.
he's the most polarizing man in the
Well,
past 100 years.
I actually think a lot of those people, if you want me to pull up the quotes, like his top military general, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the highest military general in the world, said
Didn't he
that
overhear something at a funeral?
that guy spent every day in the Situation Room with Donald Trump, and then came out and said he had no concept of foreign policy and was acted like a dictator. You also have his first Secretary of Defense saying he's the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, tries to divide us, doesn't have any concept of foreign policy. His second Secretary of Defense, quote, I think he's unfit for office. He puts himself before the country. His actions are all about him and not about the country. His first Secretary of State.
It's definitely known that him and his original cabinet are beefing, and they were lousy.
But some of these are like some really respected people. Like first Secretary of State said that Trump's understanding of global events, global history, and U.S. history was, quote, really limited, and it was really hard to have a conversation with him.
This might be conspiracy on my part, but aligning yourself with the most slandered man in the Orange Man bad era, Trump, aligning yourself with that guy maybe wouldn't be the best move for anyone's long-term political careers.
Okay. But don't you think that like you would like Mark Milley, who served in Vietnam and is like one of the most respected U.S. military members, just in general, just period, in the country, saying
He's a sellout. Yeah, that's my answer.
Oh, that he's a sellout.
Mm-hmm.
And and Mark Esper and James Mattis.
I don't even dispute that Trump's divisive, and I'm not a MAGA lover, but it was the better of the two.
Well, I guess my problem with like this, just one more thing on this, like his first Secretary of the Navy, Richard Spencer, quote, the president has very little understanding of what it means to be in the military, to fight ethically, or to be governed by a uniform set of rules and practices. Like these quotes are just go on and on and on and on from people who were around him.
There's a lot of incentive to ditch Trump.
But that's my problem is like, at what point is there ever going to, like, do you see how in that?
I will accept, Chris, there are critiques of Trump. I don't think he's as high IQ as people think. However, to take down the liberal establishment, I'm a far right conservative. I got to team up with that guy who's gonna bring the battering ram into the liberal establishment that was doing all the censoring, and you guys if something's offensive, you shouldn't be able to say it.
I got it. So can I let me ask a question? Is there ever like when I list some of those quotes and you say like they're sellouts, like, do you not see how some people might perceive that as like the only person you will trust is Donald Trump? Like even the people
just said there are critiques of Donald Trump. I kind of ironically said he's a sellout.
Well,
I don't know the details on that.
Sure, but I guess I'm just okay. I'm just saying that like it's like if these are all the literal closest people that Donald Trump handpicked from his first term, and they're all saying he has no idea what he's doing, it's kind of concerning to just be like, oh yeah, they're all bullshit. I still support Trump. It's like, wow, the only person you will trust.
I said he might be a dick, but he was the better option because the liberal establishment was a threat, in my opinion. And they become what they hated. They aligned with corporations. It was all this hoopla.
Wow. Okay. His second handpicked chief of staff, quote, Donald Trump is a person that has nothing but contempt for our democratic institutions, our constitution, and the rule of law. There is nothing more that can be said. God help us, unquote. His former acting chief of staff, quote, I quit because I think Donald Trump failed at being president when he needed him to be that, unquote. One of his
Trump was more far right. Maybe I'd like him.
One of his comms directors, quote, he is the domestic terrorist of the 21st century, unquote. Another comms director, quote, I'm terrified of him running in 2024.
Chris, yeah, we can keep reading these. What do you as a liberal stand for? Or are you a social democrat?
What do I stand?
What's your vision for this country?
What's my vision for America?
Yes. You want less mass immigration, right?
No. I think what what makes us very strong is our like diversity and willingness to let people in.
Wrong.
So like my vision for the future is like in America where, all right, he left. All right. Well, I feel like I kind of cooked that dude. Maybe I feel like I kind of just slaughtered that guy. He didn't really have a response so much. I was saying. Yeah, I think like diversity is like our strongest trait as America, as in America. It's what makes us. It's what makes us great. Double tap screen. Appreciate everyone being here. If not. Oh, excuse me. I've not heard from Dean. I talked to him a little bit on the phone last night, but he said he was all right. Dean's a good dude. I've talked to Dean in depth in person once or twice, and he's a good dude. Dean's strong. Dean's a strong kid. I think he's a smart dude, a strong guy. He'll be all right, but show him some love because he deserves it. Reese, or I'm sorry. Sydney, thank you so much for $1. You're such a liar. It's way past 8:16. I've been saying. Yeah, I know. Rosie. And I appreciate you a lot, Rosie. Thank you so much for $1. Anna. Official fandom name. Oh, all loves you and says hi. Well, hello. I appreciate you. Shout out. Sharpeen is the fandom name. Okay. Sydney, thanks so much for $1. Take a shot every time guest says status quo. Oh, I'd literally be dead. Rosie, fix my headphones. That I agree with everything you said about the diet thing. As someone who can't eat a lot of foods, I'm always reading ingredients. There's so much unhealthy stuff. Yeah, there is a lot. There's a lot. That is true. Wait, what the hell? Oh, what? All right, whatever. Live in a society. Please, what's wrong with my headphones? Are they tangled? Allie, thank you so much for $1. Do you think all my donos have been? Allie, you're very, very kind. I appreciate you so much. Dude, first of all, Allie, there's never any pressure to donate monetarily, ever. I appreciate it so much, and I know you know it, but I just have to say it over and over again for everybody. Truly, there's never any pressure. I appreciate you so fucking much. You never know. Olivia, thank you so much for $10 on Venmo. I love you so much, and I'm so proud of the work you do and the fight you put in as a woman. You are helping and being a wonderful supporter. Keep fighting. Olivia, huge W's in the chat for Olivia. $10, it means so fucking much. Goes a really long way. W's in the chat, everybody, and for Allie as well. Such a big supporter. Rosie, Sydney, Anna, and lastly, Blair, 50. Oh my goodness. Can I get 1,000,000 W's in the chat for Blair? $50 on Venmo. That is unbelievably gracious and kind. Happy late Merry Christmas. Glad I got to watch tonight. Blair, you are so fucking kind. I appreciate you so much. W's in the chat. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Truly, truly, truly. I don't take that for granted. You fucking rock. Wow, that's incredible. I can't say it enough. Thank you so much. Thank you so fucking much. Thank you so fucking much. W is Blair. Really appreciate you. Let me up. I can prove you wrong. All right, you can prove me wrong. And I'm, 6'6" and playing the NBA. We all have wild, dreams and fantasies.
Okay.
Won't come true. Hello?
So this is why Donald Trump was the best thing to ever happen to the United States. Because we are about to go through exactly what Germany had to go through. And we are going to actually end up having to go through like the whole Civil War thing. I believe that is actually coming. And I'm not a Trump supporter, by the way. But Trump literally has showed the worst of our nation, and he brought it all the way up to the boiling point, to the top of society, to where it's acceptable. And by doing that, we are going to be literally forced the next 4 years to face the worst aspects of our nation instead of just brushing them under the rug. So we are going to be forced to either clean house or be the worst of ourselves. And he may be the worst president ever, but he may have actually finally done the one thing that this nation actually needed, which was a president to bring the worst out of us so that we can actually fix it.
But, okay. So we definitely agree that Donald Trump's like really bad, but wow. I feel like we don't have to, like ruin a bunch of people's like, in this
It's
scenario.
not a matter of wanting, Chris. We have sat here for months preaching all of the benefits of the aspects of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all of their policies and the wonderful good things that they have done, and these idiots refuse to acknowledge it. So maybe we just have to face the worst head on instead of trying to debate around it. We are going to be forced to deal with the worst aspects of our house. Whether we want to accept that or not, Chris, you're a young man, I'm not. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been facing the worst aspects of our society for a long time. And the really scary part about it is up until maybe about 15 years ago, when a certain somebody took office, we really didn't actually like hold grudges against people that made those types of jokes or made the horrible gestures towards people. Like, the reason why it's so abrasive to people to have to accept and change what we want to accept and change in society is because for so long we ignored it. And we have to either and there's just as many people out there that want change as the ones that don't. So we're going to have to actually face those people. And I think that it literally, I was sitting here, I've been listening to your chat, I've been listening to Dan's chat all day, and I snapped. And I was like, well, maybe this is the best thing for the nation is for Donald Trump to actually bring out the worst so that we can actually fucking face it.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know where the Trump administration will take us or where it will end, but
Oh, I know the like 14 steps of the F word and all that stuff. Like, you can take me down that rabbit hole, but I know all about it. I've been here just as long as you have. And I've been fighting this shit for just as long as you have. And yeah, but
well,
maybe the best thing for the nation is that we get to face the worst of it.
well, listen, I appreciate you doing the work to try to fight against it, and one day at a time, all right, man? One day at a time.
Protect your weak friends, Chris.
All right, Shane. I appreciate you a lot. Be safe. Okay. Yeah, that's well, first of all, Shane, I do appreciate you understanding the extreme negatives of the Trump administration. I don't and again, I don't think this is what he was trying to say, but just in general to what the fuck, dude? Just in general to chat, I don't think the take was like I don't like the take of oh, it's all gonna burn and that's just what has to happen. Maybe I naively would like to believe it doesn't have to happen, but yeah, I mean, people should be positive and stay positive as best they can, but I think that the next year is we'll either it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be really ugly. I mean, in terms of the question, there's really I talked to someone today who's very, very intelligent on these topics and very level-headed. Probably not even a Democrat, but has a deep understanding of history, politics, democracy, a deep understanding of all of the political events in history. And this person essentially said, there's three possibilities. Either A, this is what's going to happen. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. In the first year of the Trump administration, there will be he will do something that a court will strike down and say is unconstitutional. And that will be the moment and the question of what happens next, because there's a high likelihood, depending on what that thing is, that a court will say, Donald Trump, you can't do this, it's unconstitutional, and Donald Trump will just tell his people to do it anyways. And in that exact moment, we have lost American democracy. It's over. The judicial system is the law does nothing because the executive branch doesn't follow the law anymore. There's no checks and balances. We've essentially, that's it. It's fallen. We've fallen into a new pit of like, this is no longer democracy, and now we have to figure out how to operate in a system where like the law, for example, has no power, and certain branches of government have no check. There's no checks and balances, and that could get like really ugly really fast. The question is the possibilities entail how ugly they get and how quickly and how fast they go, and if Donald Trump is willing to do that. So we'll see. But I won't mince words. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. But democracy was cool while it lasted. I don't know. I had fun, I guess. I didn't really get to do much. Whatever though. Double tap the screen. Appreciate everyone being here. Seriously. You guys fucking rock.
I love you, Chris.
I think it might be time to go ahead and log off here, guys. Go ahead. It's been a good stream. Appreciate everyone being here. I'm kidding. Oh my goodness, bro.
Yo.
What's up, man?
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
How old are you?
18,
What year were you born?
06,
Okay. What's up?
February 28th.
Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah, tariffs are good, and the CHIPS Act wasn't that good.
Okay. So why are tariffs good?
Yeah, it makes it more expensive to offshore jobs.
It makes it more expensive to offshore jobs.
Yeah, it makes it more expensive to import goods.
Okay. And who's it more expensive for?
The companies,
What companies?
companies who rely on imports.
Companies who are allowing it. So like U.S. companies.
No, yeah,
Yeah. So it's more expensive for U.S. companies. So you agree that like,
yeah, that's good.
yeah. So you agree that it's like going to cause inflation.
No, no. It might cause it's going to cause imports to go up, and retailers who buy those imports will make it more expensive, but they'll probably absorb that in lower profit margins and not increasing of retail prices.
Wait. Pause.
That's
Pause.
what most of the data shows.
Wait. Pause right there.
Okay.
You're telling me that a business is going to pay a higher fee to get a good into the country, and they're going to look at their profit margins and just accept that they're lower. And
Yeah,
they're not going to raise prices. They're just going to be like, nah, it's fine.
yeah. Uncertainty is way more important than trying to, maximize profit margins.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I mean, I'm 6'7" and I play in the NBA. I mean, we all have just. Like,
I mean, I can
fantasy.
give you data that supports this.
Yeah, please. I mean, we all have fantasies that just like
Yeah,
shit that we can just believe that just are.
Check
never
out Clivo. Yeah, check out Clivo 2019 ETAL. Pass through at the border rates to the consumer. Evidence from U.S. trade policy.
Okay, hold on one
You
second.
can go to like page 3 in the second section.
Okay.
The impact of tariffs on goods. Ow, fuck. Sorry. The impact of tariffs on goods is like almost unnoticeable.
Okay, so let's hold on one second. Sorry, I'm trying to figure something out here. All right, give me the title again, please.
It's like I think Clevo ETAL 2019 is the author. I think it's like pass through at the border to the consumer. Evidence from U.S. trade policy. Yeah.
Tariff pass through at the.
Can you show your screen so I know we're looking at the same thing?
Is it International Monetary Fund, tariff pass through at the border and at the store, evidence from U.S. trade policy?
Who are can you read the authors?
Alberto Cavallo.
Yeah, there we go. I said his name wrong.
International Monetary Fund. Okay. We use
go to page 3.
Okay, wait, hold on.
You can find the full PDF on NBER.
Okay. Let's go ahead and it's 37 page. How the fuck do I get to download PDF?
When you read it, would you mind showing the screen?
Yeah, I have to like turn around I'm reading like page 3. So is that is that page 1 or page? Okay, that's page.
No, it should be like page 3.
Page 5 and page 3. As
And, like-
discussed, next, having demonstrated that incidence of the U.S. import tariffs fall largely on the United States, we studied the extent to which the price increases faced by importers pass through into higher retail prices or were instead absorbed by lower retail profit margins. We consider aggregated categories such as washing machines, handbags, ties, refrigerators, and bicycles and find mixed results, with some sectors exhibiting clear price increases due to the tariffs and others exhibiting stable prices dynamics despite the tariffs. It is difficult to study the impacts of tariffs using such retail price index because they're at a level of aggregation that combines meaningful share of goods that are both affected and not affected by the tariffs. To get around this problem, we collect millions of online prices from 2 multi-channel retailers, both top 10 of U.S. retailers in terms of revenues, where we can identify whether or not individual goods are affected by the import tariffs. Surprisingly, despite observing a stark increase in the overall cost, inclusive of tariffs, paid by U.S. importers for certain Chinese goods, we detect only a minor increase in the prices set by the 2 U.S. retailers for these goods relative to those unaffected by tariffs. Our estimates suggest that a 20% tariff is associated with a 0.9% increase in the retail price of affected household goods, such as dishes, furniture, linens, toaster ovens, towels, and umbrellas, and a 1.4% increase in the retail price of affected electronic products after 1 year. While these estimated prices increases are economically and statistically greater than zero, they're not easily visible in the retail price indices that we construct to compare affected and unaffected imports. Our results suggest that retailers are absorbing a significant share of the increase in the cost of affected imports by earning lower profit margins on those goods.
Let's go.
This empirical evidence shows that the idea that a more complete understanding of the full supply chain from at the dock importers through final retails, it's important to capture the full implications of any trade policy, a point made theoretically in Eckel 2018.
So I was correct.
Well, I mean, I'd like to look at like the their you know like how they got this data, but yeah, sure. I mean, if the data is collected well, yeah, it looks like they used 2 online retailers, and like it was surprising how little they increased the price of their goods based on these Chinese tariffs.
Let's go. So I was right.
Okay, well, a couple things. Again, I think it's important that
I can cite more data if you want to.
No, I understand. I think that a couple things. Sorry. I think that a couple things. These are obviously going to be based on tariffs that like currently existed under the the first Trump administration, which are going to be like much less widespread. And obviously we're like looking at more like a more zoomed in view of like specific industries that have tariffs on them. And in this, you're looking at 2, U.S. retailers or 2 top 10 U.S. retailers and specific items around those things. I think that like trying to encapsulate that, actually what the researcher said at the end was that we need to be able, this shows, at least if I agreed with the data in this, it at least shows that we need to be able to understand at a broader level how retailers are going to react to like a price increase. But I don't think that, as they've suggested, that this specific zoomed in look can't be replicated for, widespread tariffs. Like
So just a couple things. So there's 2 things I want to say, and I'll show why it's analogous in a second. So that specific study was on tariffs. If you want more evidence of tariffs, not necessarily raising consumer price indexes, but just companies like taking hits in the profit margins, you can look at the what's with the lights? Anyway, the Economic Policy Institute's analysis of like the Section 301 and 232 tariffs. They found no significant price index increases. So that's the first thing. The second thing, The second thing is just generally in the data, you can look outside the tariffs. When there is increases of cost of manufacturing a good, there really isn't that much increases of the good, of the consumer good. So we can see that with like minimum wage data. So when the minimum wage goes up, which is obviously going to raise the cost to make the good because labor costs increases, there's generally no noticeable increase of steel retail prices. And so the reason why it's important to know this is because when you're creating models to see what a flat tariff will do for consumer prices, and then you just assume that a profit markup will happen when usually it doesn't happen, then your whole model is going to be really thrown off. Like you mentioned Goldman Sachs, they did that. You mentioned the Peterson Institute's another person, they made that assumption. And see, this is the problem with orthodox and neoclassical economics. They make a bunch of assumptions because they're assuming rational agents when this doesn't really actually happen.
I do want to point out that like in the study you cited, in the conclusion, it literally says, quote, relatively little is known, however, about how economies in practice respond to tariffs, particularly when these trade policies involve large countries that have the potential to influence prices. Will the response of exporters be symmetric across countries? How quickly will prices adjust? Will prices at the border adjust similarly to prices at the store? And then, to answer these questions, we collected data, and we find that, quote, despite this rapid increase in the total cost of importing goods, we found, quote, mixed evidence regarding retail price increases.